Hello everyone, welcome to the webinar. My name is Phil Simeone. I work for Centurion Technologies. Again, I want to welcome everybody and thank you for attending today. The webinar that we're going to be doing is going to be on our SmartShield CurrentWare product. It is an internet filtering, device management, and browse reporting product. And assisting us today, we're going to have Jesse and Tony from the Centurion team, and Cy and Jay from the CurrentWare team. And again, thank you guys for helping us today. I want to reiterate that your microphones will be muted today during the presentation. We encourage you to ask questions using our questions panel of the GoToWebinar interface. So don't be shy if you have questions. Please go ahead and send them on over. And again, what we're going to be going over is our SmartShield for CurrentWare. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it over to Jesse Hebison, who's going to be doing a short PowerPoint slide presentation and just kind of giving a quick overview on the product. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Jesse.
Thanks, Phil. So as Phil said, I'm just going to show just a quick few slides about SmartShield CurrentWare and kind of what it is and briefly overview of how it works. And then I'm going to hand it over to Cy from the CurrentWare team, who's going to get more in detail on the product demonstration. So you should see my opening slide here about SmartShield CurrentWare. It's an endpoint and internet security suite of products. So there are many threats that we find today on the internet. Malicious software, data theft, high bandwidth usage is an issue for some organizations, legal liability. And then if you are in a enterprise or business environment, you're perhaps concerned about employees spending time on social networking sites when they should be working, which goes to employee productivity. So these are some stats from the Nielsen Corp that shows what people do in business environments and some surprising things about how people spend their time at work on the internet. So 30 to 40% of employee internet use is not work-related, so that's almost half. 82% of employees admit, so it's probably more that don't admit, they're using social media at work. Even watching sports online at work, almost a third. And 46%, almost 50% of holiday shopping people do at work on the internet. So it's beneficial for people to be able to control and monitor internet usage. So what's the solution for things like this? And that, of course, is the SmartShield CurrentWare suite of products. And SmartShield CurrentWare includes BrowseControl, which can block internet sites as well as filter content. BrowseReporter, that will monitor and report on the sites that people are using as well as bandwidth usage. And AccessPatrol, which is an advanced kind of access blocking or controlling piece, so people to use flash drives or DVD drives, things like that. We get a little more detailed. How does it work? The CurrentWare have a CurrentWare server that will control all the individual clients, and of course it monitors and restricts internet activity and can help increase employee productivity in a business. And if you're in an organization like a school or a library, of course, it's going to help with SIPA in order to get E-rate funds. Licensing, how does it work? So it's a permanent license or perpetual license. It's a great value, so once you buy the license, you have it, and the initial purchase includes 12 months of support and upgrades. Category filtering, which is very important to a lot of folks. What this means, you can just, instead of worrying about blocking every adult site, it just will automatically filter out adult sites based on who they are. That's a subscription, but we build it into the maintenance renewal. It's a subscription because it's constantly updating the database of websites that are out there so it can correctly filter those out for you. CurrentWare Suite has a common controller, so all three products that you see, BrowseControl, BrowseReporter, and AccessPatrol, have one common controller you can use to control all the clients. So BrowseControl, a little more detailed. What does it do? It restricts the internet. You can create allowed or block lists, so you can whitelist or blacklist websites, meaning you can have a list of only as few websites that people can go to and everything else is blocked, or you can have just a few websites you block and everything else is open. URL category filtering, once again, this allows you to filter out things like social networking sites or adult websites, which of course once again goes to the SIPA qualifications. Allows you to block apps, chats, online games, block downloads. If you're worried about people downloading things to the computers, you can block those downloads. You can block ports, and you can even have a quota allocation for the internet. So you could say this computer or this is only allowed to be on the internet for 3 hours a day, or perhaps this computer is only allowed to go on the internet between 12 and 1. And that is a benefit for some people. BrowseReporter is really pretty straightforward what it does. It reports on the internet usage. So you can track websites that people are going to, so it's important for you to be able to know where people are using the internet, what websites they're going to. Upload the data and create reports on, bandwidth. So if you have an organization where you might have someone who's a bandwidth hog, but you want to identify them, they're streaming Pandora and YouTube and everything else all at the same time. You can identify them or just track the most commonly visited websites in your organization. And AccessPatrol, once again, is going to block devices that you may not want to connect to the computer. So block Bluetooth, block USB, block wireless, block CD, DVD drives. So it just gives a little bit more control over what people are able to do. So these are some of the clients that are using SmartShield CurrentWare. You see some very high-profile clients, the House of Representatives, City of Houston, Swatch, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. It's a great product. It's been around for quite a while, and it works very, very well, as these companies can attest. So now I'm going to pass it over to Cy for the technical demo, and he's going to get more involved and show you the actual CurrentWare server, CurrentWare controller, as well as the different products and how they work. So Cy, I'm going to pass it over to you, and you can go into detail about the CurrentWare product.
Okay, thank you so much, Jesse, for that introduction. Let me just go ahead and share my screen. In about a few seconds, you guys should be able to see my screen, which has the CurrentWare console installed. And I think at this point, you guys should be able to see it. So let me just go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Cy. I am the technical specialist here for CurrentWare. And for today's product demonstration, I'll be showing you the CurrentWare solution. And 3 of the 4 solutions that we'll be showing you are, first, the BrowseControl Internet filtering solution. So you can use BrowseControl to control the internet access of your users. And then we got BrowseReporter, which is our internet monitoring solution. And finally, the AccessPatrol, which Jesse has shown you guys is the solution to block endpoint devices like USB and DVD from accessing your computer. So I'm going to spend a minute to talk about the installation and configuration of CurrentWare. The actual setup of CurrentWare is very straightforward. It is a server and client architecture. So you would install the CurrentWare server and the console, which is what you're looking at right now, on your computer, the manager or the IT administrator or the librarian. So you would install this on your computer, and then you would deploy the CurrentWare client on all the computers that you want to manage. Now, the actual installation process can take anywhere between 5 minutes for a small setup to about an hour's time, but it's very straightforward and easy to install. And then once the installation is completed, all your computers will show up here on the console, and you can begin managing those computers. So here I've got it set up that I'm organizing my computers based on internet access, and for today's product demo we have a few computers here, and you can see that these computers, some of them are not connected. There are 2 computers that are currently connected right now, and I've put them under different groups. So remember, when you're setting up CurrentWare on your network, you can put them into different groups, and they'll have different internet restrictions on them. Now, besides controlling computers, I also want to point out right now that with CurrentWare, you can control based on user as well. So no matter who logs onto that computer, whether it is the administrator or the manager or even a guest that is using the kiosk, you can set up different types of restrictions based on their user account. Now let's just go back to user mode here and keep it simple. And I'm going to go into the kiosk folder here, and I'm going to show you the features of BrowseControl. So once you have this installed, it takes literally a minute to set up your internet policy. So there's usually 2 ways to set up your internet. The first way to do that is to turn the internet off and use an allow list. The benefit of using it this way is, let's say you have a kiosk machine, and all you want them to go to are websites that are related to the library or websites that are related to your school. So to do that, you simply turn the internet off here, and the status of the internet is set to off. And then you would go into the URL filter here and put the websites that you want onto the allow list. Okay? So at this moment, we have internet turned off, and these are going to be the only websites that your users can go to. Okay? So this is the very first scenario I want to show you guys. Very easy to set up. Once I hit OK, the policy is pushed onto those computers, and the internet restriction happens immediately. So now those are the only 3 sites they can go to. If they try to go anywhere else, they will get a block message. Okay, I'm just going to bring over my internet browser in a second. Okay, let me just put my computer in there. So in 1 second, I'm going to bring over the browser. Okay, so this is the message that the user will get when they go to a website they're not supposed to. I've typed in yahoo.com at the top. Whereas if I type in BrowseControl.com, that's part of my allow list, so the user will be able to get to that website. Okay, let's move on. The second scenario is, let's say you want to be a bit more flexible and you want to allow your users to have a block list instead. So we're going to turn the internet back on, and we're going to go into the URL filter and start adding websites that we don't want them to go to. So anything that's related to sports or Facebook or social media site, let's put them on the block list. Now with this second scenario, we can also use something called category filtering to add additional restrictions to the users. On top of the 4 websites that we have already added to the block list, let's say there's even more websites that you're not aware of, but you want to add the categories. So you want to block all types of social network website, all types of sports website. You can add them in here. And if there's any adults website you want to block as well, you can add them in here. Okay? So now we have categories being blocked and also websites being blocked. Okay? And at this point, for this computer, they'll be able to go to websites on the internet except for the ones that we added to the restriction. Okay, so fairly straightforward. Now I want to move on and talk about more filters that you can use BrowseControl for. So other than just blocking websites, there are other things that you can block. Now let's talk about downloads, because that's one of the easiest ways that a computer can get infected because of viruses or even the fact that you're an administrator, you don't want your users to install software. So the download filter does exactly that. You can prevent your users from downloading any files that are related to certain file types. So here we have a file called zip files, and the most popular example is the .zip. Once we add it here and create the permission to always block that file, if they go to the email and they try to download a zip file, that will be blocked immediately. Or if we go down here to executable files, we can block exe from being downloaded, and that will prevent your users from installing any software. We also have the ability to block audio files and video files, so that will prevent your users from playing media on their computer. Other than the download filter, I just want to jump forward a little and talk about the other filter that we have, which is port filter. Okay. Port filter works the same way in that it is actually blocking traffic coming in from specific ports. So if you have users that are power users and they know how to use, for example, FTP to transfer files, then we can block them from going to those ports. Okay, so that's one way of using the port filter. Now let's just backtrack a little, and I'm going to talk about schedules. The policies that we've created to block the internet is very flexible. You can create different policy at different time. So for example, if you have some users that you want to give them more access to the internet during lunchtime, then you can do that using the internet scheduler. I do have an example here. Okay, so this is a different group now. For this schedule, from 9 o'clock to 12, we have a custom block list, so we're blocking certain websites. And then at between 12 to 1, I'm just going to go ahead and add that in right now. I'm going to turn the internet on for this user. Okay, so the user will be able to go to any website during the internet on status, and then after lunch, the internet will automatically go back to the custom block list that I created. So you can always use the scheduler with BrowseControl. Another feature I want to show you with BrowseControl is App Blocker. Now we understand that there's going to be users that will use the internet outside of the internet browser. They might be streaming music off applications, or they might be playing video games or running chat programs. So with the App Blocker, this will prevent your users from doing just that. For example, here I have an application that allows the user to stream music off their computer. And I'm going to add that file into the blocked application list. Okay, let me just select the right folder here. Okay, and I'm going to do that one more time. Okay, as soon as I added it to the block application list, I don't know if you noticed, but the application had disappeared. And if I were to try to launch that program again, I'm going to get an error message saying the IT administrator has prevented you from launching it. Okay, so aside from just blocking the internet, BrowseControl has the ability to block application as well. And I just want to point out here under the BrowseControl client setting, a very neat feature that we have regarding remote users. So typically you can set up CurrentWare in a local area network. I also want to point out that you can set up with remote users as well. So if they have VPN connection onto the network and they're at a different location, you can set that up. You can even set it up over the internet if they're, let's say, a remote worker that's working from home and you want to connect that person, you can do that as well. And on top of all that, the BrowseControl has a client database installed on each computer. So if you take a laptop that is controlled by CurrentWare outside the network, the internet policy for that computer will follow them. So the internet will still be blocked based on either the allow list or the block list, even when it's outside the network. If your users are going to a hotel or they go to a conference, you can still control that device's internet activity. Okay, and that's the last feature I want to show you guys for BrowseControl's internet control software. And at this point, Jesse has a poll for you guys. And I'm just going to hand it back over to Jesse for the next minute or so.
Thank you, Cy. So we have a quick poll, and I'm going to go ahead and give this to you. And if you could answer the poll, we'll give it a few seconds for everyone to answer. So go ahead and launch that poll. You should see it now. We'll give it a couple of seconds for everybody to answer. I'm going to give it about 5 more seconds here, so please get your answers in. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results here. So the question was, does your organization use internet filtering? And it looks like 3/4 of you do currently use internet filtering, so that's great. About 25% of you don't. Unfortunately, we don't know why, but thank you very much for your participation. We'll have another poll here in a few minutes. So, Cy, back to you, my friend.
Okay, thank you so much, Jesse. It's good to hear that some of you are already using internet control or internet restriction software on your network. It's always good to have that extra layer of security. So the next thing I'm going to talk about here is our BrowseReporter internet monitoring solution. Okay, this is how you can discover the internet activities that your users are doing on their computer. So the websites that they have visited, and also just sending those reports to you directly. Okay, so let's go ahead and run BrowseReporter here. We have the report option, and you're going to see a bunch of different options that we can generate our BrowseReporter's report with. Before we actually go into these reports in details, the way that BrowseReporter works is because of the client that's installed on every computer, the data is being transferred. After it is tracked, it gets transferred over to the server every 5 seconds. Okay, so it's constantly updating the CurrentWare database and giving you fresh data to generate reports in. So you can even call it real-time reporting. As soon as we get the data within the 5 seconds, you can go ahead and generate reports. Okay, here we have a list of 16 different reports that BrowseReporter has to offer, beginning with very detailed reports, like the first one, which is sites visited, is going to show you every single web page that your users have gone to summary reports that gives you the top domain based on their browsing time. And that's going to be a one-page summary showing you information about that user on what their top activity are for that week or for that day or for that month. And we also do bandwidth reports. A very interesting report here is called a category report, and I'm going to show you in a little bit with my screenshots later that the category will tag each web page. So sometimes you're looking at the report and you're not really sure what the URL is about. The person could be going on the site most of the day, but you're not even sure if it's work-related or not. So having that category report will put the category next to the website, and it'll tell you whether it's business-related, technology, or maybe it is a social media website after all, and so it's not work-related. So having that is very useful. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the reports now. I do have these reports taken by screenshots so that I can show you the data. Here is the first screenshot, which is the sites visited. it's going to have every single URL that your users have gone to. Okay? When they go to a website, let's say they click on a link, it'll track every single page. The one difference here I do want to point out is, I understand some of you already have some sort of internet solution. The way BrowseReporter works, though, is that it'll collect the web page that they're on, and it will not collect the irrelevant information. For example, like when you go to a web page, there's ads, there's analytic services that are running in the back, there are web page tracking plugins that are running. BrowseReporter will not collect that information. So when you're running the report, it's not going to overwhelm you with information. You're only going to get that URL that they're on and the links that they click on. So at the end, you get a cleaner report and you get a better understanding of your user's activity. So here's one of the pages. Depending on the date range and such, you might have more pages to show. So here at the bottom right-hand corner is actually one of 30. So you go to the next page and you'll see what the activities are. And then over here on the right-hand side, we have two columns. One is called active time, and the second one is called total time. And this is the way we measure the user's activity on the website. The active time is when a web page is in front, it's active, okay? And it is not behind another tab. It is not behind another application. It is not behind another web page. So active time means the person is actually focused. He's actually on that page reading or viewing that page. Whereas the total time, it will record the time that you go on the page until you exit the page. So naturally, the active time is going to be lower, but it will give you a more accurate picture of whether your user is actually browsing that page. So let's go ahead and jump to a second report here, which is the top domain by browsing report. And this is one of my favorite reports because you can send this out on a Friday evening to your manager or your department head or your head librarian, and they will see every single computer, and they'll have one-page summary of whether that computer or that user has been browsing websites that are related to work or related to that library, or are they actually wasting time. So here you look at the report and it's sorted by active time, and then you can just drill down and look at these pages, and you might notice that, okay, this person has been on Facebook quite some time, but and then down here some of the websites are not work related. So you can investigate further by generating another report, or you can just let it be. So this is the report that you can get directly into your inbox, because BrowseReporter does come with the ability to send any of the reports that I show you by email. Okay, let's move on and look at another report here, the total browsing time. Total browsing time, you'll be able to see all the computers that are on your network and see who is actually browsing on the internet the most. Okay, the next report here is URL category. I mentioned this a bit earlier. Knowing exactly what category a website belongs to will help you understand whether your user is wasting time or they're actually working on something that's work-related. BrowseReporter also tracks bandwidth. So here's a daily bandwidth usage report that tells you for this computer how much data is being sent and received. This is a different variation of the bandwidth report, and it'll tell you that one computer, all the data that I sent and received for the entire period. And if you have more computers here, they'll all be listed, so you can compare which one is hogging the bandwidth or not. And I've only got two more reports to show you. This is the second last one. We got a top 10 user by browsing time. We can see that Emily uses the internet the most in this on this network. And then finally, we got the top domain by hits. So accumulating all the data of the network, so all the users and their internet activity, we're generating this report to show you that most of the users are actually going on Facebook. So it gives you an idea of the fact that perhaps your users are not really working away. Okay. So that's the last report I want to show you of BrowseReporter. There are other features of BrowseReporter that are very useful. I'm going to talk about the remote screen capture. The remote screen capture functionality is used to get an idea of what your user is actually doing on their computer in real time. So once I enable this, the server is going to try to connect to the client computer, and in a few seconds you'll see the desktop. So whatever activities that they're doing at the moment, you'll be able to monitor, and at any time you can take a screenshot and save it onto your computer. Okay, so this is one way of just keeping track of your user's computer activity and making sure that they're working away on their computer. Okay, and at this point I think Jesse has a second poll for you guys. Jesse, if you can just take it away with that.
You bet. So we have a second poll that I'm going to share with you now, just about the way that you might use a software like this. I'm going to launch that and give you a few seconds to answer this, about 20 seconds. Is the browse history of your users important for you to collect? So I'm going to give it about 5 more seconds, so please get your answers in here. Share the results. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results. We've got about 72% of you voted here, and it looks like the majority of you do think that it's important to collect that browse history. 54%, 8% never thought about it, and 38% said no. So that's great information. Thank you very much. And I'm going to flip it back over to Sai. Sai, that's all you, my friend.
Okay, thank you so much, Jesse. All right, so we're going to show you one last solution with CurrentWare, and this one is called AccessPatrol. And it's the ability for you to control any endpoint devices that are plugged into your computer. So we're talking about USB keys, DVDs, external hard drives, or if some of you are still using floppy, you can control that as well. So with AccessPatrol, we're going to go into the device blocking menu here, and we're going to go through some of the devices. With storage device, you can actually perform 3 different permissions. First one is full access. So any storage device, you're going to allow full access. And then read-only is the second option. This will allow you to plug in your device. However, you're only going to be able to read what's on the device, but not copy anything confidential from the computer onto the device. So reading is fine, but copying is not allowed. And then finally, no access. You can completely block the device, so when you plug it in, it'll say that access is denied, and you will not be able to use the device whatsoever. So let's talk about a device that AccessPatrol supports. We got USB, so anything that's removable, disk, iPods, even iPads and such. Any USB that's plugged into the computer, we can control. CD and DVD, floppy disk, tape, external hard drives, FireWire devices, SD card, and MM card. So those are all part of storage devices. Next, we got wireless devices. So if you're using anything that's Bluetooth or infrared, perhaps on a laptop, or even Wi-Fi. So by disabling Wi-Fi, you're actually cutting off the connection between your computer to the wireless router. And you're forcing that computer to only be able to connect using a wire connection. Okay? And when you block wireless devices, any of the Bluetooth or infrared transfer functions will be disabled, so there will be no way to transfer using those methods. Then we got ports, which are serial and parallel ports. And on top of that, we can block imaging devices like cameras, scanner, webcam, or even portable devices like your phone. And finally, sound cards. So if you know that the computer that you want to manage has a sound card, but they don't need to use the sound at all, and you don't want them to be streaming movies or videos, then you can completely disable the sound card. Now with AccessPatrol, you could set up an allow list. An allow list means you can add a USB device, the one device from your network maybe, that the IT person will have access to. So adding that USB device to the allow list will only allow that one unique device the ability to access the information, but all other USB will not be able to work. Okay, so that's the allow list. And just like our other products, you can also create a scheduler to allow your device to plug in at a certain time. A perfect example would be after or before work hour. You allow the IT admin to do his maintenance task. So at that point, you will allow USB access. And then during office hour, you will completely block access to all the employees or the users that are logged in. With AccessPatrol, you can also generate device reports. So the reports are straightforward. It'll tell you when a user plugs in a device. This will tell you if they're just accessing the device. At the moment, it will tell you that information, but it does not contain information of what files are being transferred. So based on your restrictions, you can see if people are plugging in their devices when you block them. So if you block USB and people are plugging in USB key, it'll tell you that your users have tried to plug in this blocked device at this time. Okay, and AccessPatrol does work with email reports, so an email can be sent to you weekly on those activities. And once again, it does work off-site as well. When you take the laptop outside the network, because of the client that's installed, it will still be controlled. Okay, so I think that's the last thing I want to show you guys of AccessPatrol. I'm just going to hand it back to Jesse, and he's going to wrap up the CurrentWare product demo for today.
Thank you, Sai. I appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and show my screen, and you should see it now. And I just wanted to go over a few of the questions, as many of you asked questions during the webinar, and I just want to go over a few of the questions that we received, some of the most popular questions. The first was about mobile devices, iPads, BYOD phones, anything like that. People had questions about blocking or controlling internet access on those devices. At this time, SmartShield CurrentWare does not do that. However, in the spring, there will be a new product release called the CurrentWare Gateway. And the CurrentWare Gateway is software-based. It's not a hardware device like many gateway filters are. And will support Windows, Mac, mobile devices, iOS, Android, and it does not require a client agent. So there are benefits to having a client agent the way the CurrentWare works now. So for example, someone could not get around the internet control or filtering by having a mobile hotspot on their phone, for example. But there are also benefits to having a gateway filtering system like the new CurrentWare Gateway we will release in the spring. once again, be able to have BYOD control. So that's neat, and that'll be coming soon, as I mentioned. The second big question it seemed like we got is people had questions about the CurrentWare server to the different computer client communications and how that could work. And that can work, the computer might be at home or anything else. So the communication between the CurrentWare server and the client will work across subnets and even over the internet. So that's important for some folks. So that's two big questions we got. I think many of you also had other questions answered. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the webinar here. We're going to leave the webinar interface open for the next 10 or so minutes, just so if you have any additional questions, we can answer those. I want to thank all of you for being here in our webinar with SmartShield CurrentWare today. We really appreciate your time, and hopefully you learned something. Any questions you have, feel free to email or give us a call. We'll be happy to answer them however we can. I want to let you know that we do have evaluations available for SmartShield CurrentWare, and please send us an email if you're interested in trying this product out in your organization. And if you found the webinar helpful today, if this was some good information for you and you feel like we did a good job, please go out to our Facebook page and like us on Facebook. And follow us on Twitter and like us on LinkedIn. Follow us on LinkedIn. We appreciate it. And if you do that, we'll send you a coupon for 10% off your next purchase of SmartShield CurrentWare. So yeah, go out on our social media. So right now nobody's monitoring you, so you can do it. So with that, I want to thank you again and let you know that the recording of this webinar will be posted on our YouTube page in the next few days. So if you'd like your colleagues to see it, or if you would like to watch it again or review it, we will have that up on the Centurion Technologies YouTube page. And I want to thank you very much once again for being with us. And as I said, we will have the questions panel open for a while. So thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you soon.